Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode of the Wellness Tribe, where we demystify everything about mental health and make it simple for the ordinary folk so that we equip you with tools to thrive and become the best you can. I'm your host, Danish Odongo, and today I'm joined by the beautiful.
Faith
Yeah.
Nafula Atsango.
Okay.
I'm a counseling psychologist
Yeah.
by profession,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be here
Okay.
to share knowledge
Okay.
and to help people heal their childhood wounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heal their childhood wounds. That sounds like a really loaded thing. So, how do you know you have childhood wounds? Or what are childhood wounds, Kwanzaa?
Yeah, that's a good way to start.
Yeah.
A childhood wound is a situation where, as you grow, everyone, I think, has childhood wounds.
Yeah.
We've come from a background and we have caregivers. They can be our guardians, our parents. So as you're growing up, you experience things in your life. We have people who are coming from broken families, hardship areas,
Okay.
like the drought we are seeing right now. It can create a wound. We have people who experience traumas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're traveling somewhere, then you meet an accident, and then no one works on it.
Yeah.
You stay with it, then you're told, hii ilikuwa tu ajali, and then
You move
you
on.
move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So those are the things that build
Yeah.
the wounds that we are having. You might even get the wounds from house girls. House
Or
girls
houseboys.
bring, even houseboys.
Yeah.
They bring a lot of wounds to us.
Okay. How? Tell me about how house girls bring
For
wounds.
example, a good example that I have in mind is for boys,
Yeah.
baby boys especially. House girls introduce them to sex early in life. So you grow knowing that this is what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe they've forced you into it, or they even sweet talk you into it. Or come, do this, I will do this in favor for you. If you don't do this, I will report you to your mother, because they use it as to manipulate them. So as people grow, they grow with those wounds inside them. Even as parents, when you talk to your kid and you're not kind, you've heard people say, wewe ni mjinga kama mama yako, ama hii tabia yako mbovu imetoka kwa upande wa baba yako. So those are the kind of wounds that we grow with, and they come and haunt us later.
When we are adults.
Yes, when we are adults.
Wow. So these wounds, are they physical? Can they be seen on our faces? Or where are these wounds based?
These wounds are stored in the subconscious. You see the way someone can do something to you? Like, I've categorized the wounds into 4.
Yeah.
We have abandonment wound. We have trust wound. We have neglect wound. And we have guilt wound.
Wow.
So let me start talking about the guilt wound. Growing up, you've been told, don't outshine so and so. Maintain your lane.
Maintain your or even siblings, actually.
Yes, sibling.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
that sibling rivalry. You're told, maintain your lane. So you find when you're growing up, you fear asking for help, because you feel like, wataona, I'm asking too much from them. So you end up being guilty. You just stay with your things. You don't want to shine, right? Then we have trust wounds. Trust wounds come when a child is crying and you don't attend to the cry. Unasema, huyo anapenda kulia, atanyamaza tu.
Tukimwongelesha atazidi kulia.
Yes. So that creates trust issues, because I'm crying out for help and you're not coming to help me. So I will grow not feeling safe, because I cried asking for help, no one came to me. They even don't trust people, because if this is a person who is supposed to take care of me, I'm calling for help and they're not coming, who will I trust? So we have abandonment. These are people who fear being left. They always feel left out. When people are in a family function, even if I go, I won't make a difference. What is the point of me going?
So now you're an adult, made to a family gathering, but you're saying, even if I go, I will not make a difference.
People don't listen to me. I don't make any any contribution. So why should I even go?
But as we see the adult, but we're not seeing the,
The
child
child.
in the adult.
Yes, so
Okay.
it's coming out. It's coming out. And then we have the neglect one. They fear being left. You see, someone is in a relationship, but they fear being left. So they will do anything to maintain that relationship.
Including manipulation,
Manipulation,
buy their way into money,
gifts and all.
even violence, actually,
Yes,
to try to manipulate you to stay.
Yes, to cage you.
To cage you,
so that you don't go. So they're wired to solve issues with violence and using manipulation to get their way.
Wow. So you're an adult and you are seeing how these things are manifesting, but you don't know how.
Yes.
So what are some of the telltale signs
Yeah.
that somebody can tell that, okay, because like you said, we all have childhood wounds, but some are severe, some are mild, and some are outrageous, exactly.
Yes.
So what are the telltale signs that can say that, okay, by there I may need to have like a childhood wound?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Now, for you to know that you have childhood wounds is how you react to situations. You see, there's someone who will be told, wewe ni fala. That person won't react to it because they already know.
They already know that
they are not.
they've been turned, or they know they're not.
Yeah,
Okay,
they know they're not.
So
But
it
the
doesn't matter.
person
Yeah.
who has told you is the person who has a problem. So they are trying to bring out their insecurities to someone. They'll tell you, wewe ni fala, to manipulate you, to get into their space for them to feel good. So when someone comes to you and tells you, wewe unakuanga na utoto sana. It's not that wewe ni uko na utoto, it's them who are suffering from it because of the wound that was.
So we are projecting when we project our wounds onto people,
Yes.
it sort of shows that there are these childhood wounds we need to deal with.
Yes, there are those childhood that you need to deal. I am dealing with people, relationships.
Yeah.
You cannot deal with people. Like conflict left, right, and center.
Come again.
Left, right, and center. So you're always on conflict.
Yeah.
Something small triggers.
Yeah.
Because if you meet a situation, then it reminds you of your childhood. Maybe you had a mother who used to spank you a lot of times. Then you meet this boss, and the same way your mother used to treat you is what is coming out to that boss. Then your day is spoiled. Then your mood changes. You have bad vibe. You don't want to hear anyone talking to you. You're so irritable. You don't want to listen to anyone. To some, they become controlling. They want to control everything because that is what they saw growing up. And maybe when they were growing up, they never had a chance to voice their opinion.
The opinion, yeah.
So it's either you do what I've told you, it's either you follow what the instruction I've given you. And that's why you hear people tell parents that you need to be at least legeza. Have a discussion with your child. Listen to him, give them guidance.
Yeah.
Not that everything that we tell them is correct. They also have a say. Listen to them. If whatever they're saying is not making sense, just guide them and tell them.
I think the African parenting rule book is about the rod first and then the carrot later.
Yes.
But first of all, we will use the rod. So whether we are using the rod wrongly or not, it doesn't matter. And I think African parents never apologize. So you did do some damage to these children. They're now coming up as alcoholics. They're dealing with dysfunctional families and they're dealing with all these things. Yeah. But we can never ever come and humble ourselves and say, by the way, honestly, I'm sorry, I messed up here. Yeah. Yeah. So do you think it's also our parents' childhood traumas that sort of shield them from ever admitting that, by the way, I did wrong here?
Yeah, they always say parenting has no school. But there are small things that we can do to become better, right? Yeah. Like when growing up myself, my mother used to take me to school. I went to a boarding school. And she never knew that she needs to escort me at least to the dormitory, help me spread my bed, talk to me, and then leave. She just takes you to school. At the gate, you have pocket money, you have your shopping. So you find that parents don't know their contribution to who we are today.
Exactly.
So it will take upon you yourself as a person to know
To
this
own,
is,
take
yes, to
responsibility. Yeah.
take responsibility
Yeah.
and change.
Yeah.
We cannot take the blame again to
To
our
our parents,
parents
yeah.
and say they didn't do this, that's why I'm like
I don't
this.
think it's blame. I think it's just to say that you messed me up is not to blame. It's to point the problem. And when you point the problem, you've halfway solved it.
Yeah, but there are people who will blame
Yeah.
and still be blaming that if it was not my mother, if my mother did 1, 2, 3, or if my father did 1, 2, 3, I could be a better person. So they stay in that cocoon of blaming, not wanting to heal.
That is a childhood wound still.
Yes.
So what I think, I think I agree with you. But where's then the place of authenticity as adult where we can say, honestly, my dad did this to me and it hurt me and it affected how I do? Because some of these things, they have lifelong impact on our money, on our relationships, on how we interact with people. They have lifelong impact.
Yeah, and now I give another example.
Yeah.
You've seen a family where it's a setup. You have 3 brothers, 3 sisters. One, and the father is an alcoholic, the mother is not, right? So one child will come out and say, yes, I've seen my father taking alcohol, but that's not my route. There's another one who will come and say, mtoto wa nyoka ni nyoka.
Exactly.
I will take alcohol the way my father took it. So it's upon you as a person. Yes, your father did 1, 2, 3. Does it mean when he did it, it's the right way to live your life? No. So you need to take charge and say, yes, that is what happened. I was exposed to alcohol. I will not be an alcoholic because I want to rule my life myself the way I know how.
But how do you make different choices when the options you are given are the only options? Like, for example, people say that children don't become who we tell them to be. They become who we show them.
Yes.
Like, it's mostly modeling, nurture that eventually. So how can you make better choices when you don't know better?
Now, you make better choices when you listen to yourself, the inner child, and the things that it does to you. If you're happy with it, well and good. If you're not happy, you make a decision and say, I'm going to change this. You appreciate that whatever happened, this is what I was exposed to. But is it the life that I want? If it's not the life I want, then I need to change.
Okay.
So what you do, you embrace it. You don't fight with your inner self.
So before we go to this, I mean, of course, I think this is a very important conversation that we need to have over time. Like, we need to have like a series on it so that we really equip. Because for me, one of the things I have that people don't know where it's coming from is that I don't know how to beg. Somebody may think that, unim jaluo na pride. But they don't know that my the reason why I don't beg is because I grew up in a poor home where we begged all the time. And I saw the dehumanizing impact of begging. So now I can't beg. I'd rather die before I beg. So some of these things people don't understand. So how do they manifest? How do they manifest in tangible ways? Some of these childhood wounds, how do they manifest?
For example, even you, the way you've just told me that you cannot beg to someone to help you. There are people whose egos are very, 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 very high. That you tell them, by the way, you need to say please. They'll tell you no. Yeah? The other day we were talking about the wounds, the money wounds, and the wounds that they make us live. You find that someone tells you, I grew up eating dog's food because of poverty. Right now I'm getting money. Let my kids eat.
Eat well, exactly.
Eat well. Let them dress well. Because I didn't have money that time, but right now I'm having money. Let my kids eat and dress well. You see, that is counterproductive in a way because you do that to them, they'll overfeed, they'll eat bad food, junk food, pizzas, they'll end up being obese. So they manifest in small ways. Like there are people who use money even to get away with, because growing up, they grow up in lack. So they'll use money to buy, like bribing, to get their way out. You find that there are some, they manifest through how they treat each other. Because their house girl or maybe their mother used to talk so bad words, you're so stupid, you amount to nothing. So growing up, without healing that thing, you find that maybe they don't mean it, but they just find themselves being mean. You've heard of sadists. You've heard of narcissists. They just find themselves just treating people badly, not knowing they're doing it. There are some who know. For me to pin this person down. I have to use harsh words so that she gets out of my way or gets out of his way, so that my life can go on. Intimidation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I like that, but I can also add another wound which I've noticed that sometimes it comes out in the type of sexual choices we make.
Yes.
So people may think of, they're seeing this as they give tags which I don't like to give. Or why are you so loose? Why are you like this and that and that? Of course, and then the liberal will tell you it's fine. But if people like us who know psychology, we can tell that maybe you are looking, is that a real thing?
Yeah, it's happening. Now this goes back to parenting.
Yeah.
Now, if you grew in a home where the parent was always absent, daddy was never there or mommy was never there, you will look for affirmation from someone else. And that's why we have girls who go for sugar daddies, because they're looking for that father figure. About sexuality, we have boys who started having sex with house girls.
Yeah.
You're put off.
Very true. Another wound which I think my therapist helped me deal with last year was so I'm a very driven person. So it's and then I was very critical. So I'm critical of myself. So you find that you do work, but you don't see the work because you have this destination in mind that I will only rest when I've made this. I will only rest when I've done this. So it was very difficult to even just be grateful, because then gratitude is a very important thing. So my therapist was saying, by the way, instead of saying that I should have been this by now, why don't you look at who you are now?
Yes.
You've survived some of these things. You've made progress. Here you are, Instead of saying that I should be, say, owning an apartment in this place by now, why don't you look at the fact that you actually have a house over your head, there's running water, and you're healthy? So that also sort of rewires your brain to give you gratitude, where you think about really the good things, So I think, how many of us are aware that we even have wounds? Are people even aware? Ama, we don't even know.
Most people don't know. Just like the way depression comes.
Yeah.
You don't know you're depressed, right? Until someone tells you, by the way, you're behaving in a certain way that is not okay. Do you feel 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
So even the wounds, there are people who are so confident that they're okay. They even don't know they have the wounds themselves. So they just live by the day. So most people don't know they have wounds. And it takes a keen person to understand, no, this person, this is not normal behavior. There's something that is eating them from the inside that they need to comb it out and reach out and seek help.
In fact, let me stretch this conversation a bit longer. Let me tell you, most of drunk driving that causes accidents, they're partly childhood wounds. People who, reckless, impulsive, and stuff like that. So I just want us to stretch this thing and make it practical in terms of how it affects the nation. I dare also say that some of our political leaders, in fact, many of them, and many of them who grew up in very poor homes, they eventually come and run the nation based on childhood wounds. So they make decisions, they project their own insecurities. And we also don't see the primitive accumulation of wealth in this country as an outcome of childhood wounds. You've grown up in poverty, and then you say, one day I will never be poor again. And so you grab land and you grab money,
you hold
everything,
and nothing is enough for you. Yeah, you want to take this, you want to take this. Even you take from the poor people.
Exactly.
You don't even feel sorry for
empathy.
them. You don't have empathy. And you keep on picking.
Not even picking, it's grabbing. You grab the children's playground, you grab a public walk lane, you grab everything. And because of the wounds that you carry, you don't see them as people, sort of, because these wounds can also dehumanize you. It can just make it about you, because I think we can be extremely self-centered. And also the problem we don't see is how the capitalistic world we're living in, how it feeds off that. Because then if you're aggressive and driven and psychopathic and all these tendencies, dark traits, then they embrace you, because then you can bring profit and you can achieve all these things,
So I think the bottom line is that self-awareness is very important. That you need to know who you are as a person, what are your strengths and your weaknesses, and what is eating you up. What drives your action? Is it because of what you went through, or is it that the situation that is surrounding you is pushing you? Because we have people who will do something because of the circumstances around them. For example, you have a family. You need to feed this family. We have people who will fake things to get papers
Yeah.
so that they can get employment.
Mm.
We've heard of people buying jobs
Yeah.
to get it. That we have people who want to prove a point to someone
Yeah.
that huyu mtu atanitambua, anafikiria yeye peke yake ndo anajua kufanya hili. So we have different things that drive us to do what we do.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the childhood wounds.
Yeah.
We need to really be aware of what eats us up.
Yeah. So there's no way these childhood wounds can bring positive things in our lives. They can.
They can.
Yeah.
They can.
Like,
the moment you know
Yeah.
that this is what made you become who you are, you can be an instrument of sensitizing other people. You can come out and say, no, I will not be defined by what I went through in my childhood. I want to change the narrative. I want to become a better person. Yes, I was exposed to poverty, but I will not use that. Yes, it's a bad thing.
But we're also going to talk about poverty wounds one of these days.
Yeah, I will not dwell there, but I will come out and become a better person. I will become a champion to encourage other people, to empower other people, to teach other people what you can do different to become a better person. I always like using the Obama story as an encouraging story to the young youths. He came from a very disadvantaged background, but look at where he reached.
He didn't come from a disadvantaged background. He was raised by white parents who are wealthy and...
No, but the father left him.
Okay, yeah, so we should look at it like that. But in terms of how he was raised, Obama was raised in a privileged background.
But now look at the
experience of a black
early...
American and the experience that Obama had are 2 worlds apart. Obama was, privileged.
But now look at the early years.
True, yeah. In terms of fatherhood, when he went to Asia to live with the second father and all this sort of stuff, the challenges.
So those are the small things that define who we are today. Yeah. So when you sit down and just analyze someone, you will find that there's something that happened down there that people are not talking about. It's only that person who is able to know it, or even they don't know about it.
As we come to an end, I used to be a writer and I wrote extensively, but when I healed, when I started doing therapy and all this personal development, my writing reduced because it was sort of like a channel. So that's why I was saying that maybe sometimes some of these childhood wounds can be good tools of creativity and drive.
And now
and
there
passion.
is where now journaling comes in.
Yeah,
because when you journal, you're able to know, you're able to learn your moods. One day you'll wake up feeling meh. Another day you'll wake up feeling good. So when you sit down and start analyzing what you were writing, you'll be able to go back and ask yourself, so Kwani, what was happening on this day? And you're able to watch the patterns.
Absolutely. And today that becomes the final part of this conversation. We're going to have more and more series around it. We're going to do like at least 3. But the objective here is really to improve the quality of your life. There are people out here who are struggling with their money, with their relationship, with family, and they're struggling even with productivity at work. We don't see the correlation between the adult you are and the child that is in you. And therefore, our tool really is to equip you. Our work is to make you aware. And therefore, then you can make better decisions that can help you thrive. And eventually, you can become all that God created you to be. Until next time, adios. My name is Danish Odongo.
I'm Faith Nafula Sango.
Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Okay.